Estate agency is full of noise, bold claims and empty promises, but when it comes down to it, who actually delivers? In this episode of Zero BS Estate Agency, I sit down with Jack Bowyer of EXP, an agent who's cutting through the industry fluff and proving that results speak louder than words. We get straight into the one factor that truly maximises a home's value, why so many homes sit on the market for months and how to avoid it, the pricing strategy that works and why most agents get it wrong, and how sellers can spot red flags before signing a single agency contract. No fluff, no gimmicks, just an honest conversation about what's actually working in today's property market. Right, so Jack, what is the one thing that truly maximises the value of someone's home when they go to sell their property?
Good afternoon. For me, there's a number of things, but it all comes down to the estate agent. And I mean the person as opposed to the agency themselves.
The person. Okay, right. Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. I think there are so many factors that are involved in selling a house and maximizing the price. And if you've got the right person at the helm, they're going to be... The way that I look at these things, right, is every single thing that I do, I try and tweak to be a little bit better than the average, right? So the photography is amazing. There's videography, which other people potentially aren't doing. I'm selling a lifestyle, not just a property. And then when it comes to pricing, I'm not a big fan of asking prices. I think the market that I work in is super competitive. There's an awful lot of stock on the market, and you need to stand out both in the way that it looks, but and also the way that it's priced. And I'm a big advocate of guide pricing, utilizing right move bandings, getting those extra clicks from sitting on a barrier. And it's got a proven strategy. My friends and I, we all talk about this all the time, and it's proven. I had a property the other day listed at 500k with another agent for 3 months, not getting anywhere. I did a guide of 450 to 500. I had 2 open days. I got 9 offers, and we ended up at 492. And that was within like 10 days.
Jack, how does, right? Sorry for cutting in. Because when it's interesting, right? So I don't just invite anyone on this podcast. I don't. So when I'm reaching out to you without blowing smoke up your ass, right? I'm reaching out to you for a very good reason. And that is because you clearly understand the process, the human level psychology as well, the consumer psychology, the behavioral psychology, understanding your market to within an inch of its life. You've already said you've got loads of competitors that you're competing with. And well, how do you stand out? And of course, you just mentioned a couple of things there, and we'll get onto some other stuff, I'm sure, later in this episode.
Yeah.
But though, right, guide price, offers in excess of or offers over, I tell every single seller, right, not to do it. And the reason I say not to do it, and that's not taking anything away from you, because obviously I'm a great advocate of what you do and how you go about your business and what I see online and the people that you're connected with. I'm absolutely want elite agents on it. But only elite agents can be trusted to do what you're doing when you're talking about guide price, because so many agents I see, even if I look in my own area in Marlow, guide price, offers in excess of, offers over, they're still on the fucking market. What the fuck? When you do a guide price or an offers over or an offers in excess of, you are doing it with a specific purpose of over exceeding expectations. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. And I say this to people when I meet them on valuations. I don't like to call them valuations. When I meet with people, I explain to someone, right, I'm going to clear your diary for at least an hour, maybe up to 2. I will answer every question you've got on the market, on the sales process, on the buying process, on estate agency, anything that you could possibly need to sell your home and to move. And at the end of it, essentially, we'll work out if we're a fit for each other. And to touch on your guide pricing, it absolutely requires trust in your estate agent to be handling that process correctly. Because as we will both know, but not everyone listening might know, in your typical high street agency, there might be a number of people working and one of them is getting paid. So it becomes a race, right? It becomes a race to get the first deal agreed, not necessarily the best deal agreed. But something that we touched on earlier is, I'm not showing people immediately. I'm staggering it. I might launch it on a Monday, and there might be viewings on a Saturday night, and then on a Saturday morning, and then a Monday night for the people that can't make that. Intentionally, it's creating competition. There's no urgency in today's market, but I create that because I'm holding all of the cards, and I've created this process, and I've curated this process in a certain way with the seller completely on board. Everything I do is completely transparent. There's no tie-ins on my contracts. You work with me as long as you want to work with me. We create this plan together, and I'm super confident in it. I've tried lots of different methods of selling, and in today's market, for me, this is comfortably the best results around.
Yeah. You mentioned something when we were just sort of texting each other, talking about organising this podcast.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, Mr. Agent, if you're saying that you're going to reduce or want me to reduce the price of my home, does that mean our contract is now null and void? And I love that. That's incredible.
Well, I think of contracts, they're two-way, right? But they should be two-way. But estate agency contracts are very lopsided. An estate agent can go out and promise you the world, lock you into the contract, not live up to any of it, and you're stuffed. You've got no choice. Even at that point, you realise you've been completely done over, and you should have listened to the other estate agent who was giving you a straightforward answer and a realistic idea. You've got no choice but to either put your move on hold for 12, 16 weeks sometimes, or to reluctantly let this estate agent who I've been toying with releasing this as a video, right? And give me your thoughts on it. Like, it's if you've been massively oversold on price, there's two reasons, right? And you're gonna have to choose. Has your estate agent lied to you, or are they just not very good? Right? Either way, it's not good, right? The answer isn't one that you want. And this is why I'm a huge advocate for not having tie-in periods in contracts. And if anyone does have a tie-in period, I question why you should need one. And as a follow-up, like you just said, if you promised me £1 million and I picked you because you tell me you can get me £1 million, and then you tell me 3 weeks later it needs to be 950, the whole reason I picked you is that high price. And if you can no longer deliver that, I shouldn't be stuck with you. You're smiling. I feel like you might agree.
Mate, I completely agree. It's never happened to me, right? And said more in a level of confidence because I was working for someone else in a high street, so I couldn't actually deliver on it if it actually happened, but it never happened, thank goodness. But basically saying to sellers, I'm that confident that if I don't actually achieve you what I'm telling you I can achieve, then I'll sell your house for free. Simple as that, right? Now, admittedly, now I do have the balls to do that because I believe that I am there as an agent to facilitate that £1 million. And if I'm going to tell a seller, and it's happened to me in the past where I valued something and actually, I've not really fully anticipated that maybe people didn't appreciate the garden was on the side of a hill and I got the pricing completely wrong. I have been there. But I know because it's made me ill, I'm never going to do that again. I am going to scrutinise everything to within an inch of its life. But I think, no, Jack, that way of doing agency is the right and fair way. I suppose, let me back something back to you, though.
Yeah.
If the agent is doing they've hired the pro photographer, they're employing negotiators, they've got the high street office, they've got their advertising costs, they're paying for Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market, and any other portal that they can get on. Are they justified to actually say, no, this contract should be 16 weeks or 20 weeks or 22 weeks because, well, we're pumping a load of money into this, So if you then just go like decide actually you leave because you can get out the contract,
Yeah.
is that justified on their part or not?
Um, it depends on the foundations, right? If 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 that entire agreement is based on something that's not accurate, then no, I don't think that's justified, particularly if it's intentionally inaccurate. And again, you'll know this, but maybe people who aren't in a state agency might not, if there is anyone listening. Um, but people in it, valuers, for want of a better phrase, in estate agencies, they're targeted on their conversion rate. How many people that they meet do they convince to pick their estate agency? And some people are targeted on just that. And what's the easiest way to convince someone to pick you? Promise them the most amount of money. Like it, the incentives aren't there, right? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I went through a transition period of moving out of corporate and working for myself, and feeling very sorry for myself because I was being very honest with everyone and no one was picking me. And because I'm I run my business on being upfront with people and realistic, and I wasn't getting picked. Right, no one wanted to work with me; they were going with hire. But instead of whinging about it or compromising my values, I've just become better at explaining how, and this is why I now say, let's meet and discuss how a state agency works, because you might not know this, and this. So my hope is that if they decide to meet with other estate agents, or if they have already met them, it might just make them ask a few more questions.
Mm.
They didn't tell me about that 12-week lock-in. Why have they got that? Who's actually selling my house? Dave was great, who came round the other day, but is he going to be the one negotiating for me and doing the viewings? All these little things. And I'm a big advocate for the not necessarily the self-employed model, but for having one person in charge of the sale from
Yeah.
start to end. No mixed messages, ultimate accountability. It's And when I talk about this with people, I think there aren't many arguments against that. It's a low volume, high service model is what I'm looking to provide. If you want a big brand name, if you want a fancy board of a big brand name outside your house, that's for some people and that's fine. But equally, there will be some people that value a personal trainer, a personal chef if you're really fancy. You have a hairdresser. I don't, people with lots of hair might, but and I think there's no reason why, especially with something that's as big as selling your house, probably the most expensive thing you own. Why would you not just pick one person to control it?
Yeah. Because your background, right, is, as I've said to you before, is literally built on granite, in the sense that, just over 5 years, 5.5 years with Sterling Ackroyd working in central London, you're going to see and experience a lot, but you're also going to see and experience what good looks like. And so it's like an amazing foundation. But why though? Why do you carry through the level of integrity you have? Because you still need to feed yourself. You still need to, there's someone maybe in your life that you may need to impress, or there's someone in your life that you may need to look after, or there's a holiday that you said that you really wanted to go on. But why would you deliberately almost, and I know you obviously know what you're doing, so you understand how to win instructions the right way, but why do you take the risk of losing?
Um, I had this chat with myself when I was going through the period of not winning instructions, for want of a better phrase, and I came to the realization that I'd rather go out of business doing what I thought was right than fold. I'd rather just go and do something else. I It sounds super cheesy, but I want to be the change that I want to see in a state agency, and I have faith in it. I go after things, and so far I've been pretty successful, and I tend to go after them. I find a way to make it work. I think that's it. You don't always win straight away, but I find a way. You know, you learn. I love learning. I listen to your podcast. I listen to so many other property podcasts. I pinch phrases from here, ideas from here, and then I just piece it all together, like to the point where I feel like I say stuff on social media sometimes, and I don't even know where I've got the idea from, but I'm sure it's come from someone else.
Yeah. But then that's the beauty though, right? That is, you're aware enough to go, right, I'm getting beaten up and spat out by these agents that are absolutely bullshitting.
Yeah.
So I now need to find a way in which to go, how do I undermine them without undermining them, but in such a way that actually makes sense to the seller? Because the outcome, the professional outcome, is the same.
Yeah.
The same outcome for the seller is always a good experience. And to your point earlier, when you said that, you know, pretty much they got to trust you.
Yeah.
A seller isn't just with you for that first 10 to 14 days worth of marketing strategy, actually creating those open mornings, that open evening, organizing all the things that you do in the background. Once the offer has been accepted, and the seller feels all gooey and nice, you're then on to the next stage, which is actually, right, I need to know the process to within an inch of its life, because it's not just one property I'm selling. There could be an entire chain. And I actually may have to look after that entire chain because the negotiators in that entire chain may not know what they're doing. And then I've got to speak to all of those solicitors and find out absolutely everything, because guess what? I'm protecting my client.
Yeah. And to the point of having a low volume, I can afford to spend that time on every client. And it's not a slight on the people that work for bigger agencies. It's just the incentive structure and the way that they're organized. I found it, you know, when I was the manager of my office, we had 40 odd properties on the market at any one time. I couldn't possibly give them all the service that they should have done. You know, we did really well, don't get me wrong, like people got really good results, but it wasn't to the level that I wanted for people. And people become numbers by necessity. Like you simply cannot care as much as you should about every one of them. It's not physically, mentally possible to do that.
Mm. Yeah. And what do you think then, if we then talk about, for example, EXP, or talk about the self-employed model? Because, I mean, in your view, is that a good thing, a bad thing?
I think it's a brilliant thing. I think the corporate high street agency's got a real big problem because their best people are going to realize that they can do better working for themselves, working for a team under a model like EXP or similar, right? I think there's always going to be a place for high street. There are people that like that, just as there are people that like different brands of cars or whatever. But I know personally, if you think of it like this, of the people that I know that are self-employed, not everyone's fantastic, don't get me wrong, and there will be people that fail, but of all the very best people that I know, they're all either have made the change or they're seriously considering it.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of people, I found this, I became the manager of my office, right? And I wasn't doing viewings for a long time. And then when we got bought out, so we were independently owned, so I learned a lot that way. And then we got bought out by a corporate and it completely changed. And I learned a lot again. But when that happened, I wasn't even doing valuations anymore. I wasn't an estate agent. My favorite days were running around Shoreditch with a bunch of keys in my hand, letting someone into a loft here and a house here and a new build here. Loved it. And that's the kind of thing I get to do again. And that's, you know, when you're happy, you do your best work, right?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Jack Bowyer said Bowyer said your surname correctly. Jack Bowyer. Honestly, mate, I'm so grateful for you actually saying yes, coming on this. I know this time flies because I could talk to you all evening, but it's incredible to get your insights and your thought process. And it's clear as day why you're doing so well. And again, mate, honestly, I'm honoured.
Well, look, thank you very much. I love your podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Wow, big thanks to Jack Bowyer of EXP for dropping some serious insights on what really maximises a home's value and how sellers can avoid the usual pitfalls and why the right agent makes all the difference. If you found this episode useful, drop a comment, share your thoughts, or tag someone who needs to hear this. And if you're an agent who wants to stand out, win more instructions, and actually deliver results on your terms in the right way for your client, take what Jack said and put it into action. Catch you in the next episode of Zero BS Estate Agency. No fluff, no nonsense, just real talk.